Hello folks, welcome to this next video in my Volkswagen Crafter conversion series. It's been quite a eventful weekend. It's the 19th of August and I've dropped the van off yesterday for its full body respray. So I've chosen a completely new colour for it. It's going to be a different van the next time you guys see it. It's gone to Manchester area to a guy called Shane at Roughtown Raptors. Have a look for his YouTube channel, Roughtown Raptors. Shane is a Raptor coating specialist. So if you're unfamiliar with what Raptor paint and Raptor coating is, essentially it's truck bed liner. It's what they coat the underside of trucks and large commercial vehicles with to protect them from the elements. So it's not a gloss finish. It's not even what you'd call a matte finish. It's almost a sandpaper sort of finish to it. And if you've ever come across a van that's had a Raptor coating job done on its bodywork, it's quite a different look. I really like it a lot. So inspired by other vans that I've seen, I've chosen my colours, and it's gone off to Roughtown Raptors to have a Raptor coating job done on it. So yeah, I'm going to be a little bit stressed out for the next few weeks until I discover whether the colour choice I've made works really well in Raptor coat or not. It's one of those things. I'm not going to reveal what colours I've chosen for it, but you'll see, and the big reveal on that in a few weeks time I'm really looking forward to, because it's going to be a stressful old day and my mind's going to torture me between now and then over whether I've made the right choice or not. But more about that in a future video. For now, here's what happened when I got to grips with fitting windows in the Crafter, which I sort of took on as the very first project. I decided I want the outside of this van looking as fantastic as I possibly can before I start on things like insulation, wiring and all that sort of thing. So yeah, the windows were one of the top of my list of priorities to get done as soon as I got hold of this van, and here's how I got on. Enjoy. Okay, let's take a look at the various bits and bobs I'll be using for this little job. First of all, I've got to make a big hole in the side of the van. So I'll be using a drill with a large hole saw on it. I'd prefer slightly larger than that. That's a 64mm. 100mm would be ideal really, to fit the inside of the corners that have to be cut out. I'll show you that in a minute. And then I've gone for this. Rather than using the grinder or a jigsaw to cut out the main panels, I've gone for this reciprocating saw with a nice fine tooth metal edge. I'll tell you more about why I've gone for that rather than the grinder or the jigsaw in a bit. I have got the grinder today. That's just got a flap disc on at the moment, and that's going to be just for tidying up the edges once I've cut out the hole with the rec saw. I've got some hammerite, white hammerite, because you know, what project don't you need hammerite on these vans? And that's just going to be for covering up the bare metal once I've cut out the holes. And then I've got some wipes. Okay, big wipes are brilliant things. They've got solvents in them. They're great for getting rid of any unwanted paint, rust, anything like that. But they're also going to be great for tidying up all the bits and pieces of shavings and filings and dust that gets all over it as I cut these holes out. Now, today we're going to be fitting, not the sliding door, because I haven't got that yet. We're going to be fitting this window and this window. If I bring you around the back of the van here, you'll see I've already done the back doors. I wanted to get back into this project and get those done before I filmed anything, so I haven't filmed the back doors, but it's the exact same process as you're going to see in this film. Of course I need some glass. There it all is ready to go. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is obviously make a couple of big holes in this side of the van. Now you can see, if I show you this, the idea behind the hole saw is just to cut out the corners here, and what that'll do is that will reduce the amount of turn that I have to do when I come with the reciprocating saw when I get to these corners. That's why a bigger hole saw would have been better. It will fit this radius better, and this one up here and over here and here, it'll fit those radiuses better and really reduce the amount of turn I have to do with the saw. You'll never get rid of it completely. You're always going to have to come around the corners, which is why a lot of people choose a jigsaw to do this with. The reciprocating saw just seems to cut through this so much better, and it'll even cut straight through these struts as well, these supports, as one. So I'll be able to get through this in one piece. Which reminds me, I need to draw a line across here so I know where to cut. The other thing, why didn't I choose a grinder to do this like I did with the Vivaro? Well, to be honest with you, when you use a grinder to cut these out, don't get me wrong, you get a lovely clean straight cut, but the sparks and the swarf and everything that gets thrown around is a massive headache in terms of cleanup afterwards. It sticks to your paintwork, it rusts and leaves horrible little orange specks all over the place. And while I've got other bits and pieces inside the van as well, I really don't want to be chucking sparks around here. Just, you know, I don't want to be getting in my bed and finding that it's full of steel sand at the end of the day. So I'm going to use the reciprocating saw. That's what I used on the back doors, and it did work really well. Okay, you can see the final result. I've got the U-channel on here. Everything underneath that is nicely coated in that white Amorite paint, so it's all protected from the elements. Once I'm done with cladding the back doors, you're not going to see any of this U-channel anyway, because there's going to be a cladding on, and there's going to be a window frame built onto this, so you're not going to see any of this this U-channel. It's purely just to weatherproof it and keep any moisture out more than anything else. So yeah, that's the way things are, and that's the way things are going to be inside as well. You're not going to see any of the edges at all. There's going to be window frames built. Over here there's going to be a kitchen that extends out across in front of the sliding door, about halfway across the sliding door. I've got a big plan in my head, and if it comes out looking as good as the plan, then you know, it'll be a great looking van, and I'm really looking forward to cracking on with it. But windows, right, let's make some holes. Right then, time to make some holes in this van. Now, basically, I'm inside a massive echo chamber here, which amplifies the sound, so I need ear defenders. And unfortunately, the only ear defenders I could find today are attached to this tree surgeon's helmet. So, yeah, a helmet is probably not necessary, a little bit overkill in terms of health and safety for a job like this, but ear defenders are pretty much a must unless you want ringing ears for a couple of days after you've done this. So saw. This is the mains one. You can get battery powered ones, but basically if you turn it this way, it's just a big jigsaw. The blade's a bit more heavy duty. It cuts towards you because of the orientation of the teeth, and bit of kit. It's going to make a lot of noise inside this van, so absolutely essential. But a blade like this will cut through a steel panel like your van like a knife through butter. It will go ever so quick. So just be prepared for it if you're going to try one of these, because it's going to pull you forward. And if you get your angles wrong, it might pull you up into the inner skin as well, and you definitely don't want that. So I'm just going to mark up these struts so that I know I've got a dead straight line to cut through, and then we're going to crack on. So I've just got a bit of scrap wood, and I'm going to line it up. Should do it from there really, but I'm going to line it up so that it's perfectly in line with this ledge here on both sides, and then I'm just going to draw myself a line through the strut. Right, I'm going to cut just across the top first on both of these panels, and then I'll show you what we do next. Health and safety. Here we go. Come with me. So I want to cut these panels out now, the rest of them, and obviously at some point they're all going to become loose. So I'm going to tape the top. That's why I've cut through the top first. I'm going to put pieces of tape across the gap there, there and there, and then once I cut all the way around here and it falls, it doesn't fall to the outside to potentially further damage the outside of the van, and it doesn't fall on the inside to potentially damage me. So let's get that done now. Right, I'll just show you a couple of things that now have to be dealt with. First of all, I'm going to get the flap disc on the angle grinder to clean up these edges. But second of all, you'll see this gap here is pretty big. It's about 10 mil in places. And that's because, well, not because, but there's some sealant glue in between the panels, which prevents me from crushing them together so I can get that the knock-on strip on. Same on the back one as well. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and get quite a wide diamond cutting disc on the angle grinder and cut some of this out of here so that the panels will come together. I mean, here where there's no filler and sealant, they squash together quite well. But here I'm really going to struggle to get the knock-on strip on. And then I'm just going to get the angle grinder and tidy these edges up. So yeah, let's crack on. So far, looking good. Right, we're going to have a go at getting this sealant and adhesive out from in here. going to use a diamond cutting wheel, and let's just see what we can do. I'm actually wondering now if it wouldn't be easier to just run a knife down each side of it and see if I could prise it out, because you can't go that far down. Let's see. Trying very hard not to slice myself to pieces. Ah, look at that. Okay, that might be the solution. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to go with. There we go. Knife and screwdriver then, folks, is the way we're going to attempt to get this done. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see that. Come here. So yeah, where there was a great big blob like this, it's now gone. And those panels should squeeze together nicely. So this could take some time. I'm gonna make my way around and get all this sealant out. I'll be back with you when I'm done. Okay, so we've got as much of that sealant out of there as we possibly can. I'm gonna give it one more pass with the grinder and the flap disc, and then we're going to clean it up, get rid of all the shards and swarf and all the rubbish, and give it a little dab of hammerite on these rough bare metal edges, and then we're ready to put our U-strip on. Here we go. Okay, so here we literally want to cover up absolutely any bare metal that we can see at all, anything silver, and it gets a coat of this. Now remember, the U bend is going to be going over this, or the U channel rather is going to be going over this. U bend's toilet, isn't it? So it doesn't have to be the neatest job. Just obviously stay as close to the edge as you can and don't paint anything that you don't have to. Take your time with it, because this is an important one. You want to go inside and outside. And just make sure all those bare edges on the inside and the outside are given a coat. And then we're going to have a go at knocking on this U-strip, this trim channel that goes over this open edge. So I'm going to crack on and do this, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put the U-channel on. Right then, so we're going to try and get this piece of trim on around this window frame. Bit overkill with the cling film band pimps. Okay, and if I show you this, you can see why I was a bit concerned about the gap in this panel. You can see how narrow it is. There's my finger, and in some places I can quite easily fit my finger into this. So it's quite tight. I'm just going to cut a nice fresh end on that. A pair of tin snips works quite well, as long as they're nice and sharp, because what you don't want to do is crush the end of it. So let's just cut a nice fresh square end straight through. Lovely. Okay, so what this is basically is a U-shaped piece of steel with a black cowling over it, and those red bits you can see on the inside there are sort of flanges, almost like barbs if you like, and once you push it on to the edge here, they are soft and they sort of lock on and stop it coming off again. At least that's the theory behind it anyway. So let's see how we get on. I'm going to try and start right in the middle of this window and see how I get on. Right, here goes. It can be quite tricky to start. Let me just move you over a bit. There I am. Okay. So if I start about there, it's a nice easy squeeze to get them together there. It doesn't matter where I start because we're going to get a nice neat join between the two ends once I get all the way around the whole window, so it'll be fine whatever we do. Wow. Now what I've got here is a pair of pliers, and I've just put some electrical tape around the ends of them just to protect the paintwork a little bit when I give this a squeeze. So I'm going to use them actually to hold it together, just so that I can get it started. Weird, on the back doors there was no gap between the panels at all. But here, I mean, as you've seen, the gap is almost big enough to get a finger in. Now the technique is to hold it back above and almost push it down and just guide it on with your thumb. And it can be really, really tricky. It's very frustrating. You've got to have a lot of patience for this, especially if you're working with a gap like I am. But you can see roughly how it happens, how it works. So what I'll do is I think I'll put you on a time lapse, and I'll just take my time over this. There's definitely some areas where I'm going to have to use the pliers to squash the panels together. And this is going to take a little while, so put you on time lapse and I'll be back in a bit. Right, technique for finishing off: lay the incoming piece towards the starting point and trim very slightly beyond the meeting point. Then, I'm about 3 inches from the end. I'm going to start that end right tight up to the starting end there, and then what we do hopefully is we can just knock this down and on, and it'll push the ends together. There we go. Now, it's not perfect, but because it's going to be hidden by the windows, and on the inside it's going to be hidden by the window frame, it doesn't need to be. That was hard work. Time for a cuppa. Right, I've just come around the other side of the van here, and this panel and the front panel there, they're the ones that are going to be the false windows. Now obviously it's smoked glass that I've chosen for these windows, but I don't want to be able to see anything through them at all, and a white panel, even behind smoked glass, is going to show. So what I need to do is paint this black. This one and that one. I need to paint the two of them black. So I've just started masking up below and above, but I've got to be a little bit careful because the adhesive that I use for mounting the windows has to have a particular kind of primer underneath it, which is supplied with the kit from Van Pimps. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to offer the window up to the panel here, mark roughly where it comes to so that I know where the primer for the adhesive has got to go on this panel first. Then when that's properly dried, I'll mask the primer off and spray inside that area. I can't do that with the front panel yet because the window isn't here. I could have a guess at it, but I don't think I want to do that. I think what I'll do is mask up this line as well and do that when the new window arrives for that front panel. So essentially I'm going to prime this where it needs to be primed for the adhesive, mask it off, spray this entire middle area black here, let that dry, and then mount the window here. That might wait until tomorrow, but I will definitely get it primed, masked, sprayed today, and then if I've got time I'll fit the glass today as well. But let's see what happens. Right, that's the plan, let's do it. Okay, that first stage of that plan was a little bit easier said than done, but what I've done, you can see here, I'll put a little mark, and I'll put a little mark up there. That's where the glass panel comes to, so I know that there is the centre between the two windows. And in terms of primer for the adhesive, if I take you to the window itself and show you the back, I don't know if you can make it out from there, but there's a matte section here. It's a nice big wide section. That's the adhesive has to go anywhere on that section there, and that gets a layer of primer too on that. So there's primer here, primer on the van, and the adhesive goes anywhere within this zone here. So I've got lots of leeway, lots of sort of margin for error when it comes to putting the primer in the right place on the van here. So I can give a good 6 inches to the left of that mark that I've put there. So from this mark here, I can come a good 6 inches this way, and I can put primer all the way up here, and I know that it's going to correspond with the correct area on the glass. And the same at the other end there. I have made an assumption, which I think is right, that the glass edge should come to this mark here, this panel join. So that's where I lined up the glass from. But yeah, I'm pretty confident I can do that now, and that's all going to be good. So yeah, let's crack on with that plan. So it's time to do some priming. Now, let me give you the full story on this. When I'm done with windows, vents, that sort of thing, this whole van is going to be completely resprayed. It's going to be resprayed in a textured finish called Raptor. If you're not unaware of what that is, have a look. It's very, very good stuff. It's very, very strong, hardware, durable, but it's a textured finish, so little bits and bobs don't really matter. So what I'm going to do, because the Raptor that I'm going to have this van sprayed in is going to be a dark colour, I'm not 100% what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be dark, it's not going to be white anymore. I'm going to bring the primer all the way to this edge here, and that's because just to make life a bit easier for the guy that's doing the Raptor spray for me, so that he can tape it up, spray up to that black primer underneath here, and I won't be able to see any white at all, even if I look right up underneath the edges of the windows. So I'm going to bring the black primer all the way to this edge, so this whole section right down to this body line here is going to be primed, and then I'm going to come to the line that we put between the middle of the windows, And then I'm going to carry on along this bottom line because that's where the adhesive and everything's going to go for this window. And I'm going to come about 6 inches across, and I'm going to do a strip all the way up there as well. So about this wide is going to be all primed here as well. And then the rest of that's going to be sprayed. So I'm going to crack on with that now. Let's go. Okay, so this is the primer. This is the applicator that they provide for it. It's quite good, it spreads it quite evenly and nicely. We're going to be as sparing as we can with this because it's only a very small bottle. Let's see how we get on. Do something similar on this window. With that, now we've got to do the primer on the glass as well. Okay, so this is the first of the windows. This is the false one. This is the one that's going over the body panel. First thing we're going to do is give it a wipe with these glass wipes that are also provided in the kit from Van Pimps. But we wipe the matte part at the edge here. We do not wipe the gloss part of the glass, the actual see-through part of the glass, because it could etch the surface. There's actually an acid in this wipe, so we don't go near the part of the glass that we're going to be looking through. This just activates the surface of the glass, or the matte surface of the glass there, to receive the primer. It's not necessarily for cleaning, although it does do a very, very good job of removing fingerprints, anything like that. So once you've wiped it with this, you do everything you can to not touch that part of the glass with bare skin at all. So that's that stage. Next is we have to apply the same primer that we put on the van to this matte area as well. We don't need to go all over it, just the areas where we know there to be primer on the van. So I know that if I stick to the very outside, then that's pretty much where I put primer on the van. So we're going to use the last of this little bottle that I've got here, but we are almost certainly going to have to start the next one as well. This is the bottom. Now I'm going to put the primer towards the clear part of the glass here, because I know that at the bottom is where the body steps out away from the glass, and there's going to be a bigger gap there. So I want the adhesive closer up here, which means I've got to prime it closer to the glass. So here we go. Okay, that's the one piece of glass done. I'm just going to put that to one side and do the second piece. So this is an opening window to go right at the back of the van on this side. Quite a nice thing. Push that down, the whole window slides open. It's got got 2 stopping points, so you can lock it at that point or you can take it all the way. And it locks closed again. Lovely. Right. Let's get that wiped down. A new cloth, different one for each window. Don't be tempted to try and reuse one. They provide enough, you know, one of these for each window. Okay, as per the previously explained master plan, I've masked this up right to the edge of the primer that I put on before. I've given this a light sanding and then a good clean, and now I'm just going to apply a few layers of black Plasticoat matte paint, and that should just suffice to make this black enough that it can't be seen through the glass once I've mounted that later on. Here we go. So what we need to make sure of is that our gap is consistent all the way along the bottom there and all the way around all the sides. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to do the exact same process on the other 3 windows, except that I'm going to put the tape ready to go above the windows first. That was a mistake. And I'll bring you back when I've got all 4 of them done. Okay, so we have 4 windows in place. These 2 on this side I did this morning, day 2 of this little project, and on this side these were done last night, so the tape's off these and they're all cleaned up and looking absolutely grand. If we come down this line here, you'll see where we reach the join. Got them just about in line with each other. I'm pretty happy with it. Really pleased actually with how lovely they look. Let's have a quick look from the inside. Lovely. Looking great. Really lets a lot of light in. Fantastic. I'm really pleased. So there we go. Windows fitted. Now there are still 2 to go. There's a sliding opening window going on the door here, and then there's another false window going in at the front on the other side, so that we get that whole black slab of lovely glossy glass down both sides of the whole van. And of course we've got the back doors done already, which looks absolutely grand. I'm really pleased. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. Did my best to not go into ridiculous amount of detail and show you every tiny little thing that I had to do, but some things just come along that you have to react to and you know, get done quickly, and I didn't have time to get the camera out. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this has gone. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. Ask me anything at all. Let me know what you thought of the film. I'll be back again soon with all sorts of other processes that I'm going through on this van. I've got rust treatment, I've got wheel spraying, I'm going to be installing the roof vents soon as well. So yeah, stick around, subscribe if you haven't already, and have a look at the other stuff that I've got going on the channel, wild camping and gear reviews and all that sort of thing. But until I see you again, this is Richie for Wild Astro, signing off.